Hey, this is Steve from True Health, and today we are going to make tempeh. So it's pretty easy to do once you know how to do it. I guess that's the way with all things. To start, we measure out 2 cups of soybeans, or what would be considered a full pack of soybeans, at least from the Asian market that I got it from. And when it's cooked, it'll actually end up being about 5 cups of soybeans. So after the soybeans are cooked, we are going to add some apple cider vinegar, 4 tablespoons, and then we are also going to add the rhizopus mould, which is actually going to help colonize the soybeans to actually make them into tempeh. So we're actually going to work with the soybeans that are actually soaking overnight. So I found the easiest place to get these soybeans were actually from a Chinese market, or I should say an Asian market. And the soybeans were actually kind of hard to find. They're tucked away. So I would ask someone first before you search too hard in a large market like that. And anyway, these beans have been soaking overnight. And the water is actually going to get poured off because the water is not much good for anything once it's been soaking. So we are going to cook these anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to make sure that they're cooked well. But they should be slightly tender, but they shouldn't be mushy. So we're going to go ahead and actually test it a few times while it's actually cooking and see where it goes. Okay, so the liquid in the soybeans is actually something that you could save and water your plants with, but it can get really stinky, so you might not want to do that. So we're gonna just dump out all of this liquid here. And then we're going to put it into the strainer and just wash these out. Yeah, they look really nice right now and they're pretty firm, but they'll cook up really nicely because they were sitting all night in the pan, and that actually rehydrates them really nicely. So we're going to fill it up about an inch above the soybeans to actually cook, and we're going to keep monitoring this because some of the liquid is going to go away as we cook it. And we're going to cook it between 30 minutes and an hour, depending on how tender the beans actually are. So we're putting this on medium, and we are going to watch it for about 30 minutes to an hour and just test our soybeans out to make sure that they're actually getting tender. And when they do, we can take this off and strain it. Just put a lid on it to make the heat come up to temperature a little bit quicker. When the pot comes up to temperature, you may need to vent the top and just tip it slightly like this to let some of the steam out as the soybeans cook. And one of the things that you can be proud of, vegan or not, is that you haven't killed any animals in the process of making this dish. So one of the things that I found when cooking any type of beans is that if you leave it in hot water and just turn it off for a little while and then come back and resume the cooking, sometimes the beans will cook in a little bit more tender way. So that's one of the things that I do with any types of beans that I'm going to be using, and it'll actually add for a little bit more creamy texture. Sometimes I've cooked beans and they're like greatly cooked on the outside, but in the inside not so much. So we're going to do that in the process, just let it rest and then continue. Now that the beans are cooked about 80%, I'm going to go ahead and put the vinegar in to change the acidity to get it ready for the starter culture. Now I put in 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Three and 4. And let that cook down, and it's important that you do that towards the end. Then just mix it around a little bit. Let that cook down for a few minutes. Now I'm going to drain almost all of the liquid and then dry the beans up a little bit more by getting the last bit of water gone. Pour most of the liquid out of here. Now I'm just going to get rid of the rest of the moisture in here by turning these beans on until all of the moisture is gone. A little bit of squeakiness coming from upstairs because we're trying to get an apartment ready there. Okay, so pretty much all of the moisture is gone in this pot. So now we can let it cool a little bit, get down to about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we can put in the starter. Now that the soybeans have cooled down, I'm going to sprinkle them with the starter and then just mix this around in the soybeans just to get it all evenly coated with this starter. So it's kind of like a mushroom type spore type of thing that is going to rapidly colonize this over the next few days. So what I'm doing is mixing this, and the next step is I'm going to put it into plastic bags and shape it in the shape that I want for the tempeh. So you just punch it probably about 5 holes across. And this allows it to get the appropriate air, but still keeps in some of the moisture. So I'm going to do this with the remaining bags, and then I'm going to put in the soybeans. And like the video I watched, to do this video, it actually showed that you form it into the shape that you want it to be. So it's going to be kind of like a tempeh block that you might see in the store. So I'm just folding this over, and I'm just going to put this in the shape that it's going to be like. There we go. So I'm going to stack them up this way. Okay, and so now we look at the tempeh that is actually going to be forming soon, and we see that we have 3 bags, 2 good-sized bags and a little bit smaller bag, but these should colonize just fine, and I will show you what they look like in a few days from now. Okay, so here is the tempeh, and it took about 2 full days to actually colonize this with the rhizopus mold spores, and it looks pretty good, right? And it looks like a solid block of tempeh. So today we are going to make the tempeh so that it actually can go into a stir fry. And we're going to cut it up into strips and then cube it, and then put it in some hot oil to just toast the bottoms and the sides of it, and then throw it into a nice Chinese type stir fry. Okay, so we have the tempeh actually here, and it looks good. Sometimes there's a little bit of blackness in it, which is typical, and the video that I'd watched to actually get some more information about this had actually mentioned that. So it smells good. It doesn't have any type of odor at all, and it is really nice and firm. The blocks are holding well together after I cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and put these into the frying pan. Actually, it's more like a saute pan, wok type thing. So I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to toast them up a little bit, and then I'm going to add it to a stir fry. Okay, so I'm stirring the tempeh in the wok and actually toasting it on both sides, warming it up and cooking it. Not really supposed to eat tempeh raw. I mean, you can, but probably best not to. So I will get these all toasty, pull them out, do the regular stir fry, and then put these back in. And the tempeh is getting more toastier, and it has a little bit of soy sauce in there, and also it has a little bit of sesame oil as well. And all the stir fry ingredients in there. I'll toss it around a little bit. A little bit more water in, and close the cover. Now I'm going to put the tempeh in to the stir fry and give it a little bit of a fold here. Tempeh seems to be holding together nicely, and that is very good. And I will be plating this up in a few minutes. And here we have a stir-fried meal with homemade tempeh, and it looks quite good, colorful and tasty. So this should be awesome. It looks very colorful and tasty, and the tempeh in there, you can see the nice toasted brown chunks in there, and those are going to taste really good. So bon appetit, time to eat. And thanks so much for watching the tempeh video, and I hope that I see more of you in the future. And make sure that you look at the end of the video and actually try doing a stir fry with the tempeh, because it's really great that way. And please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you soon.